Okay, today we're going to take a look at an app I created in Google AI Studio called ETF Top Holdings. So I designed this app to show what holdings are in each ETF, and you can add up to a maximum of 5 here. So I'm going to go ahead and add the default ones: VOO, QQQ, SCHD, VTI, and IVV. And then you can click Compare Holdings. And the results are the top 25 holdings in each ETF. So here they are, and if you click on any one of these holdings, there's NVIDIA, for example, it highlights where it appears in the other ETFs as well. So you can see that NVIDIA is 7.37% of VOO, and it's 9.04% of QQQ. And you can do the same thing with any of the other stock holdings in there. And you'll notice that a lot of these stocks, the larger companies, the big caps, they make up large percentages of many different ETFs. So, one of the things you can learn from this is if you're buying VOO and QQQ and maybe VTI and you're invested in all three thinking that you're diversified, it's not real strong diversification since it contains a lot of the same companies. So I find this really helpful when I'm making decisions about ETF investments. This is not financial advice or investment advice, but it can be useful. Keep in mind that it's running a large language model in the background. So there's always the possibility that some of the data could be out of date. But I did try to strengthen the accuracy of it by reporting down here when the information was gathered and what sources it used. So these are the websites where the information was gathered from and the dates that the data was last updated on those websites. And then in the settings menu here, we've got the option to display names or tickers, so full company names or just the ticker symbols. We've got the option to switch to dark mode or just reflect the system settings. We've also got the option to enter your own Google Gemini API key down here. So in order to use this app, it does use Gemini to go out and fetch the data for the ETFs from the internet. And I obviously can't support all usage on my own API key, so I put this field in here for users to enter their own API key. If you have a Google account, you can get an API key for free with pretty decent usage limits. So there's a link to do that here, Google AI Studio, get API key, and then you paste that below. If you're using a public computer, there's a little warning, caution down here, just to clear the data or use private incognito mode. So you click done, and these are your results. So I can tell you, I spent probably a good 20 hours on this app. It may not look like much, but initially when I ran my prompt through the chat, it came out with something that looked good on the surface, but it didn't function the way I wanted it to. So I'll show you like some of the features I added, the coloring, the gradients. These little check marks, they're actually animations. So if we try a different stock like VUG and then we reprocess that, you can see that the ones that are saved stay checked. And while it's going out and fetching new data, you've got a little animation showing you it's in process. And then this right here is it's a custom look. So it shows you that ETF is being fetched, but the data is not yet there. And it's got the processing status bar. That was all customizations that I made after the standard Gemini model came out with its results. So here you go, there's VUG. This one has 11.21% Apple stock in it. That's a growth index fund. And then the sources and the last data fetch date, those are also customizations that I added. The ability to add or remove ETFs, that was a customization I added. It started out with just comparing 2, and then I made it so you can add up to 5. All these options in the settings menu were customizations that I added over the course of all the hours that I worked on this. So tickers versus names, appearance themes, the ability to add your own API key, the little warning down here for using public computers. These are all customizations that I added. Also, probably the hardest part was just getting the results to be reliable. A lot of times, whatever sources Gemini was accessing would not give the full top 25 holdings. So sometimes it would come back with just 1 or 2. Sometimes it would come back with 5 or 10. It just wasn't consistent. And then sometimes the highlighting was also not working consistently. So those are the type of things you have to work through when you're using the current models of AI to create one of these apps. They're a little inconsistent, but if you have patience and you work with them, you can kind of get the work done of, what previously would have taken weeks, you can get done in a matter of hours. And then the final thing I did was I added some behind the scenes security to make sure that if I release this to the public, that users can't access my API key and things like that. So there is some security built in and some rules to secure the app down. So if you're interested in seeing more apps like this, or to understand in more detail how I created this, and I forgot one more thing is we did create favicon and PWA app icon. So this has real icons that go with the app, and it's hard to show you that from this view, but basically when you go to this URL on your phone and you go to share, you can add to home screen and you'll get a little app icon just like you would if you were downloading an app from the App Store. That's one of the cool things about these apps made with Gemini and Google AI Studio is that they don't require the App Store. You can make updates in real time, deploy them to your users, and you don't have to go through App Store approval for each update. I would suggest, however, that you keep a version history. It automatically keeps its own version history here. And you can go here and see when the snapshots were taken. So you can see that I've been working on this for some time, and there's probably about 100 different snapshots. The other thing you can do is download the app to a local file, or you can publish it, save it to GitHub. The other thing you can do is if you want to collaborate on this app with somebody else and toss ideas back and forth about how to improve it, you can share the app. And within the share menu, there's options for editing, viewing, read, write, access, so that you can either share it with people just to view it, or you can share it with someone that you want to collaborate with. And finally, the most powerful feature, in my opinion, is deploy. So I did deploy this app. I'm not going to go into that menu right here because that has my project name and everything in it, but I deployed the app, I created a URL, and I'm going to share that URL in the description of this video. So you can literally pull up this app yourself and use it to your heart's content. And you won't be using my API key just because I can't afford to absorb all the charges from anybody who might use this app. But you can put in your own API key, which is free to get from Google, and there's a pretty generous usage limit. So feel free to use that link. And if you have any comments about how the app works or any bugs or issues you want me to work on, put those in the comments below. And I really appreciate it if you can like this video, subscribe to my channel. I have high hopes that someday I can have this as like a side gig or maybe even a full-time income. I really enjoy just being able to do this, make apps. I don't have the time to learn coding, like I'm sure a lot of you with full-time jobs, and I have 4 kids and a busy life. I don't have time to learn coding languages. So this gives me an option to create apps and put my ideas into real products. So kind of exciting. If you're in that stage of life where you're just too busy to learn a language, but you do have some great ideas for applications, let me show you one last feature here, which is any of these apps you create in Google AI Studio can be resized for mobile automatically. So anytime you're creating an app, it's creating your mobile app, your tablet app, and your desktop app all at once, which is really cool because normally you'd have to write a few different versions of this or at least customize it. And this is just dynamically adjusting the fonts and field sizes, and it's doing everything on the fly according to what kind of device it's being loaded on. So if this video is any value to you, I would appreciate a thumbs up and a subscribe. I'm going to try to make more videos like this. If you have specific questions about features you'd like to see added or apps you'd like me to create, please leave your comments down below. Until next time, I'll see you.